current situation that a lot of us are under, it's something that we, like the feed situation, it's something that we're actually, a lot of us are considering and doing with our older horses, which is heartbreaking to most of us. Just a little bit more about me. My mum and I developed Leavingstone Park Bull Bloods, where we bred bull bloods for quite some years, down south in Bunbury, so I'm sort of semi-local. I also developed, I'm an equine herbalist and nutritionist, so I focus on all the equine, the herbal stuff for the horses to keep them going naturally on a natural side of things. There's always room for medical intervention of vets. Herbs don't fix everything, just put that there. And then I currently now have a master's in life coaching and self-empowerment, but also focus on hypnosis and NLP. And just the whole success and encouraging and helping riders, owners to face fears, confidence and stuff like that, to become who they want to be out on the field. But with all this training, I was lucky enough, unfortunate, whichever way you want to put it, to learn a lot about grief clearing, a lot about how us holding on to the grief of losing loved ones, humans, horses, the whole works, actually affects us inside, and holding on to those negative emotions can eventually lead to sicknesses down the track if we hold on to them for too long. Now, owning pets, it gives us a reason to exist, and it often takes away loneliness, it offers us support, it offers us love, peace and fulfillment. And when we lose these pets, they take a piece of us away. I had 4 deaths, now 5, in the past 18 months, so I'm fully aware of how much grief can be a very debilitating thing, causing depression, so many different things, and they all affect us and our energy within our bodies. Now, how many of you have actually experienced losing one of your beloved pets? Yeah. And how long have you owned those pets for before you lost them? How long? Yeah. Who else? How long have you owned your pets before you lost them? 26. Yeah. So my boy that I lost, he was 27. He'd come from Belkinstud over east as an 18-month-old. I trained him, I broke him in, I trained him all the way up to FEI dressage, Grand Prix dressage. I rode him to FEI and into 1 dressage. So he had a big piece of me within him in the relationship that we've created together. So when you think about losing those pets, what emotions come to mind? What's the first emotion you get when you think of losing a loved one? Pet, human, whatever. What's an emotion that first pops up? Grief. What else? Anger. Yeah, anger. What else? Sadness. Yeah, what else? There's a really big one. Yeah, what was that? Blame is the biggest one. There's more. Guilt is the biggest one we face when we actually have to put down one of our beloved pets. The guilt of, could I have done more? Could I have spent more? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? We blame ourselves so much. That energy stays inside us. That negative energy and that negative emotion of what we could have done, it stays inside us. And eventually it deteriorates us, our health and our general well-being. So did you know that studies have shown that 30% of pet owners report experiencing significant grief at least 6 months after they lose the pet? Exactly the same as what a human is. So if we lose a human, a loved one, a family member, mum, dad, whatever, we have the same experience. We have the same emotions within ourselves. And research also indicates that pet owners are 12% higher risk of developing depression at the loss of a pet. That's how much pull these animals have on our lives. And there's nothing wrong with it. They're a big part of our lives. As horse owners, it's phenomenal how much they just take a piece of us. And also that 20% of pet owners report excessive levels of stress, anxiety following the loss of a pet, which affects everything, daily life function, work, family, everything. Some of us just go into a little hole and we just can't function anymore. It's a really hard time to process. And also, there's one last statistic that I found out only this week. And And this was to do with me having to say goodbye to one of my boys who actually had Cushing's, and basically medical intervention had just become too much to be able to handle his condition anymore. So I made the heart-wrenching decision. Again, the heart-wrenching decision here was I picked this horse's spur, I bred him, I broke him in, I trained him all the way through to FEI, I dealt with him through all his cushions, every single thing I had done with this horse. And then I had to make the last decision for him. And as hard as that was, it was also fulfilling knowing that I could take all that pain away. All that pain was gone for him to say goodbye, and I had that choice. Southdale have actually had a 10% rise in the amount of horses that they have had to put to sleep just over this last, because our summer was so long and due to the hay shortage. A lot of people, and quite a few people that I have actually spoken to, have had to say goodbye to the older horses that they had because it was becoming so hard to not only afford them, but also they were just deteriorating because they couldn't keep, the pasture had to come through quick enough to help them through. So just the little story about my stallion. So in 2023, early 2024, I was very unlucky to experience 4 deaths. I lost my mum in May, I lost my nana in August, I then lost a dear family friend in November, and then in February, I lost my big warm blood stallion. To me, he was owned by my mum, and it was like losing my mum all over again. So for me, it was like a double bang. Now he was my heart horse. We did everything together. He spent 4 weeks at Murdoch. If money was a factor, I would have saved him because money was no issue. I think I threw a whopping $15,000 at this horse. It started with colic. That's how it started. He was a known sand eater all his life. He had colic surgery as a 3-year-old. And it then led to dehydration because we couldn't get enough fluids into him, which then led to ulcers, which inevitably led to me having to have him put to sleep. However, after 3-4 weeks of trying to save him, I just knew it was his time. He looked at me, I could just see it, that he'd done, he was finished through his time. Now what we found out when they autopsied him was that he had been carrying a surgical, his cecum had fused to his body. This was all from his surgery as a 3-year-old. And what had happened is every time he got colic, he got more adhesions and it fused more. Now the cecum is the process of moving the sand and getting it all go through. Now when there's no movement in that, it stops moving. So little do we know, this horse carried this complication around his whole life, 24 years. He gave us foals, he made it to Grand Prix level dressage. He had a heart of gold. And his heart was because he was with me. And it just shows that our horses will do what they can to make us happy. They will support us all the way. Now, through this situation, through the losses that I dealt with, I was in the process of doing my life coaching and gaining my master life coaching, hypnosis and NLP, right through this whole death period. I credit the NLP coach who took me on I was doing a course of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, only 3 days after losing my mum. And I was a ball of tears and she said, think of something nice and flowery, and I was like, the tears just flew because I had just my mum had just passed away. However, through a grief process and grief clearing that she actually did on that day, I was able to make it through the rest of the 5 days of this program. And all she did was the process that gave me the chance to have a chat with my mum, gave me the chance to subconsciously speak with her, say what I needed to do, and me realise that I wasn't letting them go. And the same thing happens with our pets. As much as we don't want to let them go, we're releasing them subconsciously. And we're actually saying all the guilt, the pain, the hurt, the sadness that we've all got inside us from what we could have done. But in actual fact, That's just us holding on to it. We couldn't have done any more. There's no more that we could have done, majority of the time. And saying goodbye is not always the worst case scenario. Letting them live in pain and suffer is actually far worse than making that beautiful decision to set them free of pain, suffering, or whatever they might be dealing with. Now, the reason I share my story is because I was faced with making the decision only last week. He had Cushing's, it was untreatable, and I do understand the struggle. I understand losing something you have worked so many hours, so much blood, sweat and tears, the good times, the bad times, the times you want to wring their necks because you know they can do better, but you know the next day they go out and they just perform. They just do everything you ask, and it's like a miracle again. So I understand that. I understand the bonds that we lose, the love and the loyalty between our partners. It doesn't matter if they're a dog or a cat or a horse or a donkey. It's how they mean, what they mean to us that is so important to us. And we have a choice of how we can deal with this situation. So I did have to say goodbye to him, which was a very hard decision. But because I have done this grief clearing and been through this process, I was able to say what I needed to say before I lost him, before I had him put to sleep. And you know, after I had him put to sleep, yes, there was tears, yes, there was pain, but there was absolutely no guilt. There was no sadness behind the decision I made, because I knew I had made the right decision for him, knowing that moving forward I was taking a lot of pain away from him. It hurt me to bits, but making him and prolonging, sending more money out to him to fix him, to try and fix this. I had the vet see him. He actually had some teeth issues, and they said, look, we can pull all his teeth out. He's a 25-year-old horse. We can pull all his teeth out. He had developed sinusitis. We can drill a hole in his head. We can release all the sinuses. We can get him better. He can still function for another 5 years. I made the decision based on this horse would not have even coped going to the vet, let alone having any of those procedures done mentally on him. He would have been a big anxious mess, and it would have been harder for him to cope with that than it was for me to say goodbye to him. So I kept him comfortable until the day we said goodbye. I had some great times with him the last few days, and it was actually a beautiful send-off for him. But what I want everyone to know is that there is help to deal with this. You don't have to hold it for your whole life. Humans as well. Now, grief clearing, it's about saying goodbye to them, getting what you need to say off your chest. Now, there's 4 main points. The first thing we need to do is we need to acknowledge the grief. Now, this is the biggest step in the healing process. We can't heal until we acknowledge all these emotions, guilt, sadness, pain, hurt, all of them. We need to acknowledge that they actually are there. Now, clearing and coaching along this side, it gives you a safe place to actually express all your thoughts, your feelings, and everything you never got to say to either the loved one or the animals that you really wanted to, and the what-ifs. They can actually give us a chance to bring them out subconsciously. Now, we need to process these emotions. Now, with the right professional guidance, we can help you understand the process. We can help you go through each of these emotions, to clear them, to grieve through them, and to come out the other side knowing that you have healed through the process. There's so many tools and techniques that we can do to help overcome these situations. But we don't have to burden the sadness, the guilt, the pain, the hurt, everything that we currently hold on to because we think we're okay. Unfortunately, we can bury it deep down, but it'll always pop up, and it'll pop up worse the next time. So we need to create a new normal as well. Now, we develop strategies that we can integrate the loss of their lives to create the new normal, which is the beauty around them. It's called reframing. So rather than going to the negative, when we hit a negative, we go negative, we go downhill, we just spiral. Hit a positive. When you hit a positive, you find a positive, and keep going positive. So When I had to put my boy to sleep, okay, it all flooded, and you know, I have to say, that instant after I go, excuse the language, but fuck, is there something else I could have done? That instant guilt and dread that overcome me, straight after having him put to sleep, was like, oh, I'm sure I could have done something. And you know, it's gut-wrenching, it hurts, the pain in there. And I sat there for a second and I went, you know, I can live in this, or I can go, you know what, I did the right thing, I took the pain away, and these are all the good things that we did with him. So I reframed it, and I went and just totally blocked them up on each other. So it was, we made it to here, we did this, we had some great times. My daughter was sitting on him only yesterday, she loved him. He was such a good horse, even for my young daughter who's only 5 years old. So I compounded all the good stuff, which instantly knocked that emotion of grief straight out of the ballpark. And having that knowledge to be able to do that, you can apply that in your whole life, any time of life, not just grief, your whole life. Now we also need to honour their memory. Now my boy, I had my other boy, my 27-year-old son, I had him cremated. There is so many options these days. I had him cremated. He's a very expensive $3,000 box that weighs about 20 kilos, but he has the pride and joy of his new stable, which is my lounge room. He's in a beautiful box with a beautiful picture, and that's where he sits. And because he was my mum's horse who I lost prior, my mum sits with him. So they are back together again, and I always said, he has finished his journey with me, he has taught me everything I need to know. And Mum just wanted to ride my trained horse again. So she took him back. So it's about honouring their memory and realising that how much good times we had with them and bulking up on all those good times. Humans, parents, animals, cats, dogs, they all have a part of our life. They all mean so much to us. Now the act of coaching and the acts of grief clearing can absolutely help this. Through grief clearing, you can do 2 sessions and you can stop those tears from just welling up. And the only reason I well up, I can feel the emotion of a tear coming through, but I'm able to instantly reframe my mind and go, you know what, we had some good times. To not let that sadness come through, because we don't have to deal with that. We have a choice of what we come through and what can't. So after losing 2 of my beautiful animals, one just recently, it's a profound journey of loss. And it's a significant event, and it warrants the same compassion and understanding of any other loss, human or animal. Now through grief clearing and coaching, we can find paths of healing and allowing us to cherish the memories and gradually move forward, remembering that it's okay to grieve. It's okay to have those times of tears. In my industry, we actually call them healing tears. When the tears run, we're actually healing through a process. When the tears are held back, that's when we're holding on to those emotions. And a good way to think of it, even in life, is as those tears come, they're actually emotions leaving your body. They're negative energy leaving your body as well. So never knock anyone that is crying from the grief of any animal, human or anything. Because to some people, their horse is their child, their dog is their child. And it takes compassion of all of us to realise that just because it's just a dog or just a cat or it's only a ferret or it's only a guinea pig, it means something to that person. And who are we to say that that meant nothing? We're not. It is them, it is their inner feelings. And when we realise and acknowledge that and have empathy for that, we're actually a bigger person. So I'd just like to say that I'm open to any questions. I'm actually here for the rest of the day. I'm staying around. If anyone has any questions on any of this sort of stuff, I do also do a lot of coaching on the horse side of things and all that sort of stuff as well. But this is something, I know it's a little bit morbid and most people don't generally talk about this, But so many people have had to make this decision just recently, that it's something that really needs to be addressed within the industry as well. And then today, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and also I'm offering some clearings. If you'd like to contact Julie, she will directly link you with me and some clearings to help people move through these situations. And I don't just limit these to losing your animals. I will also cover if you've lost loved ones as well, to help you move through. I know some people that have held on to these pain of losing kids and family members for years, and you watch them get sicker and sicker, and the pain in their body is just increasing because they're holding on to so much negative energy. And if we can actually help them release it, it will help them move forward through their life and have a better life. And just something to think about here as well is, what you hold on to now, do you really want to hold on to that for the rest of your life? Do you want to hold on to guilt and pain or all that sort of stuff for the rest of your life, the next 40, 50 years? Or do you want to continue your life remembering the horse, the animal, whatever it is, for who it was, the good parts of it? With grief clearing, we take away all that negativity. We're able to move it so you only feel the positive side of things. But that's all I have to say. If anyone has any questions or anything, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, like I said, I will actually be here for the rest of the day as well. But yeah, I hope that's informed you on a little bit of there is other solutions that we can do to deal with our loved ones.
Thanks, Kaya. That was quite emotional, but really informative. Thanks for coming to speak to us today. And as Kaya said, the CRC, we have some access to some funding, so if anyone finds themselves in that position and would like some help, please reach out to us and we'll refer you to Kaya. Another thing, while I've got Kaya here, she's also the face behind their equine gear swap meets. So,
Yes.
and the concept is to try to get community together, the equestrian community. So please support her. She put a lot of work into it, all her own time. So look out for them on Facebook.
Yeah, we've got another one. I'm trying to work. We've had 2 so far. We're working on 3 to 4 a year at the moment. We do a spring one, a one before Christmas, and then sort of just before winter. Our next one will be the spring, and the big idea is to eventually have markets, but also have a lot of entertainment and like a mini equitana that'll go over a Saturday and a Sunday. So afternoon Saturday, Sundays, and just make it a real communal event that we can all sort of get together and improve the community. So it's an entertaining thing as well. So yes, September is the next one. If you watch Facebook, generally the event will pop up there.
We'll put the link on our Facebook page too. Thanks, Kai. I love hearing about them. It's fantastic, especially as a community development officer. I love anything like that that strengthens the community.
Well, it's not for profit. I just run it just because, I don't know, I'm crazy, to be honest with you. I like to do more with my time. It was more just to encourage people to have a more social side of the equestrian world, and I think we all know that the equestrian world at times can be a really bad environment. Socially, bullying, it's just, everyone has their own opinions and everyone should keep their own opinions to themselves, basically, and just carry on with life and scroll on past and not always say something, just